You're listening to the Maya Life Podcast, where we learn, explore, and discover the pathway to perfect health through 5,000 years of medical wisdom from mindfulness, Ayurveda, yoga, and secret healing traditions Western medicine has ignored. Now, your host, Ayurvedic health counselor, Heather Johnson. Welcome to the Maya Life Podcast. How are all of you today? I hope that you're having an amazing day, that you're getting outside, enjoying nature, doing something to be kind to yourself. It's a big deal. Taking care of yourself is an important thing. I think it's probably our biggest mission on this earth is to take care of ourselves so that we can fulfill our dharma, what we're here to do. Okay, today we are talking about something very, very important. Elimination. That's right, we're having the poop talk. So hopefully you're grown up enough to handle this and you can bear with me as we go through why elimination is so important. And having regular elimination is vital to our health. So some of you have not thought about this on a deep level since you were potty training your kids or since you were being potty trained. You just think, I go to the bathroom when I need to. When I don't need to, I don't go, and I don't think about it. But the problem is for a lot of us in the West, we've become so used to irregular bowel movements that we think that having gas is normal. Being constipated, totally normal. Having diarrhea, not a problem. But let's get real, it's actually a problem. It's not healthy. It's not natural. It's not normal. So just because every other ad that you see on TV is promoting some kind of laxative to help with your constipation or some kind of anti-diarrheal, everything that you're seeing on TV that's talking about elimination and giving you medicine for it is causing further problems. So I wanted to share with you today some things we can do about constipation from an Ayurvedic standpoint and just lifestyle things that we can do that will help that, and really just want to bring your awareness to what is your elimination pattern. Most people, if you ask them, could not tell you what their pattern is. They have no idea when they go to the bathroom. They have no idea what their bathroom habits are, what their poop is like, if it's hard or easy to poop. And unless they're having major issues in that area, they aren't really clear. So I want you to first off get in touch with what's happening in your body. I don't literally mean get in touch, but start to make some mindful connections here. So the reason that elimination is so important is because what's happening in the body is also a reflection of what's happening in the mind. You can't have a healthy, clear mind when your body is full of toxins. And that's what fecal matter is, right? It's the undigested food, it's the waste, it's the toxins that your body's trying to eliminate and remove. And that's the biggest way that our body gets rid of toxins is through our bowels. The body and the mind are so connected that to purify one, you've got to work on the other one as well. So if you're trying to live a higher life and be an enlightened, inspired person, you can't do that if you're all plugged up down there, or if you're having diarrhea and things are not moving through you in a correct way. I've been really interested over the years. We used to watch that show, Biggest Loser, and they would do those extreme diets on TV. And thankfully, I don't even think it's on the air anymore. We don't watch it as a family, but we used to watch that all the time. And I was always amazed how quickly these people could change their bodies. What was sad, though, was to see how equally quickly they would come back to their unhealthy patterns and their excess weight once they got off the show. And I always thought, well, they worked so hard to get there. Why don't they just stay there? But it's that whole concept of the body and mind being connected. They were only treating the body and not the mind. So there's a lot that mentally is impacting our elimination as well as physically. So you're not going to have true transformation in your life until you work on both your body and your mind. So we're going to go to the body today and talk about how we can get that elimination regular so that our body can clear itself of toxins, that our minds can be also clear, and we can have better health. So I want you to think about what prescriptions in life that you would think would tie into elimination. You might think about how your diet would affect it, or maybe your sleep patterns, or maybe how much water you're drinking. But I want you to understand that outside things can also affect your ability to eliminate properly. Things like really stressful situations, toxic relationships, indulging in self-destructive behavior, intentionally overeating, intentionally staying up too late, making decisions that create a lot of anxiety in our bodies that we feel in our gut. Your gut is actually very intelligent. It's like the second brain. So when you're having any strong emotions, you're going to feel it in your gut. So I want you to keep that in mind, that all of those outside factors are definitely going to be influencing your body. So, because a lot of people ignore constipation, they go days without eliminating and still keep eating, they're just adding more and more toxins on top of the elimination that's not happening. So, they get really plugged up, right? And they get kind of oblivious to the signals that their body is sending them. And after a while, your body will just stop sending those signals. When I was in grade school, I had a lot of nervousness about class and school, which is a vata disorder, right? Having that anxiety and worry. And I would always need to go to the bathroom before I'd leave for school, but I always waited till the last minute because I tended to procrastinate, which is also kind of a vata thing. And a lot of kids tend to have some of those characteristics. My mom would tell me, well, just go when you get there. And she'd rush me out the door. And I would hold it all day long. I'd have to go pee and I wouldn't go for the entire school day. Come home after school and still hadn't gone pee, and then would finally go pee and then wondered why I got a bladder infection. So when you ignore your body's natural rhythms and its natural needs, you're going to have a repercussion. You can only handle it for so long. So I want you just to think about what might help with constipation. Okay, these are things that you probably are aware of already. Eating warmer, cooked, light, easily digestible foods are really good. Eliminating soda or cold water is really great. First thing in the morning, if you drink hot boiled water with ginger root, that can really help. Ginger is a mild laxative, really natural, tends to be pretty calming. If you have a lot of pitta, just notice if it increases your heat just a little bit too much. Some other things that you can do is every morning before you eat anything, massage your lower abdomen and your lower back with warm castor oil, and then place hot towels that have been soaked in hot water on that area and just let them sit there for a minute. You could even put a hot pad on top of that just to allow the bowels to start to move. Those are just a few tips right off the bat that we can look at. What can cause some of this constipation would be things like overeating, snacking. If you're someone who's still eating processed foods, hopefully you can start weaning yourself off of those, because white flour and white sugar are very inflammatory and constipating. You want to stay away from those. Also, some things that can help: eating only at fixed meal times. Avoid snacking, really great. And developing a regular movement patterns. Yoga can be really good for helping with elimination. There's a lot of twisting that happens in there, some of the inversions. So starting to incorporate a little bit of those into your life. So when should you be eliminating? If you're looking at your patterns and when that should be happening, early morning elimination that is about the same time every day, that's unprompted, you don't have to force it to happen, and comes without a lot of effort or straining, is a sign of good health. So if you're someone who tends to wake up, you move around for just a few minutes, and then you need to go every day, good for you. You're doing a good job. But if you can find yourself at noon and you still haven't had the urge or need to go to the restroom, you're having some constipation issues. This is not a good thing. And overall, in general, you probably want to go to the bathroom twice a day, once or twice a day, generally very early in the morning, almost right after waking. And then the second urge is usually felt late afternoon after lunch is digested. Now, if you're snacking all day long, you're going to end up having to go to the bathroom more often. You might have less bowel movements. So those are not good signs. We want to have it be pretty consistent and have our meal times be consistent so that it helps with that elimination patterns. So let's break it down by dosha. Okay, as a reminder, we have the three doshas: vata, pitta, kapha. Vata is our air and ether dosha. For a vata person, you're going to experience one, this is if you're healthy, one bowel movement per day at a minimum. So you need to be going every day. Everyone needs to go every day. Your bowel movement will be well formed, might be slightly hard, but not too dry, and it's easy to eliminate. You're not having to work too hard. If you're unhealthy as a vata, what you might notice is that the bowel urge might skip a day or more. So you might have a few days where you don't even feel like you need to go. Or it might be at fluctuating times. So some days you might feel like you need to go first thing, some days not until the afternoon, some days not till evening. So that fluctuation is a vata characteristic. The bowel movement could be very hard, dry, difficult to avoid. We always talk about how it looks like little rabbit poops. So if you're having little pellets, dry, hard pellets coming out, that's a vata vitiation. Your vata is elevated. And if you have pain when you're trying to go to the restroom or gas and flatulence, that's also a vata sign. Okay, so that's our vata. Pitta. Pitta is our fire and water, mostly fire. So if for a pitta person, they would, as a healthy elimination pattern, have 1 to 2 bowel movements per day. Okay, so it's pretty normal. 2 is fine. They're a little bit softer in consistency, maybe oilier. They could have like a yellow tinge to them, and it's easy to avoid them. So it's not hard to eliminate when you're a pitta. Now, if you're unhealthy, you got too much fire going on, you're going to have excessive bowel movements. The bowel is almost too loose or almost like diarrhea, not to that watery consistency, but it's coming out in different parts and pieces. It's kind of loose. Can be oily and sticky. It might be irritating. Afterwards, you might feel a discomfort down there where you just eliminated. And you can have some gas or burning sensation present. So it's not going to be super comfortable, and it can be very smelly. That is the toxins or the ama that you're smelling when it's really strong odor. Of course, all bowel movements have odor, but when it's super strong, it's usually pitta. Okay, last one is kapha. If you are a healthy, balanced kapha, you're going to be experiencing 1 to 2 bowel movements per day, but they're bulkier, they're going to be soft, and pretty well formed. They're not going to come out in lots of different pieces, and it's going to also be easy to void. So did you notice the common thread here is for all 3 doshas? It's easy to void. You're not having to really work hard to go to the restroom. So anytime that you work hard going to the bathroom is a warning sign. Red flag, red flag. Well, after I had, let me share with you first this, and then I'll tell you a story. For kapha's unhealthy bowel characteristics, their bowels are often sluggish. They have a sense of only having partially cleared. So they go to the restroom and they don't feel like they're totally finished, but there's nothing more that they can do at that point to get it out. They can be totally constipated at times, or the bowel can be too bulky, sticky, and sometimes can have mucus in it or be pale in color. So I know this is all TMI, and I do want you to start looking in the toilet after you eliminate so you can see where do you fall in these characteristics. The more you can get familiar with what's normal for your individual body, and then start working towards creating a nice routine pattern of elimination, that is a sign of good health. So it's really important that we watch that. Okay, here is the story I was going to share. After I had, I think it was my second daughter, I think it was the second kid, they give you a lot of just different medications when you have babies. And I didn't really take much beyond just some ibuprofen. I had all 4 of my children natural and with midwives, and it was just awesome birth experiences. If I could have had like 20 kids, I would have, as long as I didn't have to raise them all. But 4 kind of did me in. So I only have 4. But I remember after one of the babies being very constipated, like days and days and days with no elimination. And it's really hard because you're not up and about a lot after you have a baby. And so you're kind of stuck, and it's harder to get things to pass. And so I had to do a lot to get that bowel movement to come out. And let me tell you, it was not pretty. We named it the Hell Beast because it was not a good bowel movement. We kind of wondered how the pipes would even handle it, but it is not good. And I remember feeling just congested and sick and just not feeling well until after I was able to clear that. So when we keep those toxins in our body, they'll start to leak back into our system, and they can cause some definite issues. So just be mindful that it's not normal for you to not be eliminating regular. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the weight of the bowel movement, what you're looking for. If it's sinking to the bottom of the toilet and smells a little stinkier than normal, that's usually because toxins called ama in Ayurveda have mixed with the excrement, and that's causing it to sink down. You want it to float. Floating is good. Floating means that you have less toxins in your elimination. Other signs of maybe some toxins in your body that you could watch for would be a tongue that has a coating on it, like a white coating. I talk about scraping your tongue is really important, and that's why. Or if you're having a lot of gas. So those are good signs of toxins being in the body. And in Western medicine, we usually call ama plaque, debris, or deposits in the body. So when people talk about having plaque deposits in their arteries, in Ayurveda, we would call that ama. In Western medicine, we call that plaque. So same thing, different names. It's commonly said you are what you eat, But in Ayurveda, we say you are what you can digest. You could eat the most pristine, perfect diet, but if your body's not being able to digest the food, it does not matter. So you've really got to deal with this toxic overload. It really puts a lot of pressure and weight into the liver. Like it's hard on the liver when you have all these toxins, because when you think about it, you're eating foods, right? They're going through the digestive tract. They're breaking down into smaller particles that go into the bloodstream and the system. And then they have to go to the liver to be purified. And the liver is what decides what it's going to take out and create different parts of the body. But we ultimately want to get it into the cell. And the liver is like a gatekeeper for that. And it can get clogged up and full of toxins as well. And that's why when people do these big cleanses, sometimes they don't see the benefits because the liver is so full of toxins, it's not even able to process the good stuff they're putting in during these cleanses. So it's really important to kind of watch those balances of toxins and try and keep them nice and regular and get rid of as much as you can. What is healthy elimination? Okay, we're just going to talk about signs, things that are good. Healthy elimination is number one. I'm going to give you 10 things here. So if you like to write down lists, get out your pen and paper. Number one, the urge to evacuate your bowels once or twice a day. Okay, that's your first sign. Healthy. Second healthy sign, the urge to evacuate your bowels is experienced at the same time every day, ideally early in the morning before 6 a.m. Since a lot of us are sleeping later than 6 a.m., and we'll address that whole insomnia and sleep thing in the next episode, but we need to be getting up a little earlier. The earlier you get up, the quicker your body can get rid of toxins. So it's much healthier for you. Number three, the shape of your stools is well-formed and cylindrical. No rabbit poops. That's not healthy. We want well-formed and cylindrical. Density. This is number four. The stools are soft and dense, not too loose, not too runny, just right. Just like the three bears. We want them just right. Number five. In color, the stools are yellowish brown and not super dark. If they're black, green, or red, those are not healthy colors. Now, if you're like me, I ate a whole bunch of beets this last week just because I don't know, I thought I'd try. I'm roasting some beets. And so there was more of a reddish color to my elimination, but that wasn't a health thing. That was just coloring from the food. So you can kind of watch what you ate and see if that was what was impacting it. Number six, stools typically have a foul odor, which is normal. You have a metabolic process, it's breaking it down, there's bacterial breakdown, but a healthy bowel movement are a little more earthy in odor and they're not extremely offensive. So if somebody just went to the bathroom and it's like really awful and you're like, I can't even walk in there right now, turn on the fan and put in some poopery or something, you know that they probably don't have healthy elimination going on. Number seven, the stools float in the water and do not sink to the bottom. That's healthy. Yay, floating is good. Number eight, the stool is oily, but not with so much fat that they're sticky. So it's not that we're touching it to tell. This is just a visual thing. So you're looking for just a nice soft oiliness. It's not dry. Number nine, in quantity, it's neither large nor very small in the amount that's in the toilet. So one side that the size is just right is that you feel like kind of good and satisfied. I mean, nothing better than a good bowel movement, right? I told you we were getting into it on this episode. So if you're faint of heart, hopefully you're doing okay here. And last one, number 10. Bowel movement happens easily without discomfort, and you might just feel mild pressure in your lower abdomen, but it's not really difficult, right? It just comes right out. All right, so that was the signs of healthy elimination. Now, if you want to prevent constipation, first you need to know what it is, right? So here are the signs of when you can know I'm a little constipated, as if you don't already know, but this just helps you to identify it. If you're not having an urge to use the restroom, if the urge to pass stool comes at random times, so it's not irregular at all. If it's difficult to go to the bathroom, you can't pass it. If it's dry, small, or hard, little rabbit poos again. If you're having abdominal bloating, cramps, uneasiness in the abdomen, you just don't quite feel right. So, side note, we were getting ready for a big family trip one time, and my now 11-year-old, she would die if she knew I was telling this story, but my now 11-year-old was a little bit younger then, and she was so sick to her stomach, and we were convinced there was some major GI problem going on. She was crying, she was upset, so we postponed the trip for an entire day so that we could take her into the urgent care and find out what was going on with this poor kid. Now, she is my happy eater. She loves to eat. She loves heavy foods, cheeses, etc. She's very kapha in her diet and how she eats, even though she's more of a pitta personality, like her dosha is pitta. But she loves this heavy stuff. And we go in and we're expecting, oh, there's this horrible thing. Your kid's got like this disease or something. I mean, I was really worried about her. And the doctor just kind of chuckled and said, well, she's really constipated. So once you get her to pass some fecal matter, she'll feel a lot better. And I was like, really, we postponed the whole trip for this. But it made me realize constipation's like a big deal. So, okay, moving on. Other signs of constipation: having bad breath with coating in the mouth and tongue. And sometimes you can get a loss of appetite just because you're backed up. There's no space for more. Feeling lethargic. You might have physical aches randomly, and your digestion's slow. You don't get hungry real quickly after meals. Like, you can just tell there's not a lot of fire going on down there. So those are signs that you're having constipation. Now, here's a couple tips about how to help things move better. This is just a little thing you can do. It's really easy. When you go in to use the restroom, start trying to pick regular times. So when you wake up in the morning, do your tongue scraping, brush your teeth, drink a glass of warm and lemon water, maybe start some ginger tea boiling, and then go in the restroom and just sit there. And don't take any reading material, and don't take your phone, and don't try to entertain yourself. This is not party time. This is bathroom time. Just like when you were potty training little kids to help them to understand what it felt like to go to the restroom, you kind of need to potty train yourself if you're not regular right now. So you're just going to go in there and sit, maintain silence, concentrate on what's actually going on inside your body. I know this sounds weird. Everyone takes their phones in the bathrooms now, which is kind of unsanitary and gross anyways, but this is really an invitation to have your bathroom time be just bathroom time. And I want you to just notice that as you do this, it might not happen the first few days, but you're eventually going to train your body that this is the time to go to the bathroom. Yay! I know it seems kind of silly, but I'm going to give you 6 rules to help overcome constipation naturally. Are you ready? I know you're excited. You've been waiting for how to fix things this whole entire conversation. First rule: say no to irregular mealtimes and snacking. You need to eat at the same times every day. This is really good for someone who's Vata vitiated. They need schedule. They need routine. You know who's been the most amazing at this in my life is my sweet husband. He does not eat an Ayurvedic diet. We couldn't be more different in how we eat, but I really appreciate his consistency. He prepares his food at the beginning of the week, and then he knows what he's going to eat when. He can set timers. Now, I think it's good to wait till your body's a little bit more naturally telling you to eat, but I think his consistency has been very good for him. It's helped him mentally be regulated, and it's helped his bowel movements to be more consistent. So that's an example we can all use: is regular meal times, no snacking. Number 2, do not eat very heavy or very light foods. So we want to go for moderation. Moderation is king. We want to stay right in the center. The reason that you don't want the heavy foods is because that's going to constipate you and dry you, or really make you heavy, and it's going to dampen the digestive fire, or the agni, right? But if you're eating super light foods like popcorn or puffed rice or barley or lentils or raw vegetables and salads and fruit, which those all sound like healthy diet foods, they actually can create constipation. So you want to find somewhere right in the middle. If you're going to eat those lighter foods, add a little bit of oils or ghee onto each of those meals. Not a ton, like a teaspoon. That's going to help it to be easily digested in the body. Number 3, avoid excessive fasting and dieting. Both fasting and dieting aggravate Vata dosha. When we say dieting, we're talking the extreme caloric deprivation diets. We're not talking about following a healthy lifestyle pattern of how you eat. So you just want to avoid excessive fasting, which is going to vitiate the Vata and cause that constipation. And your body needs the nutrients to move things. It needs the oils and the healthy fats. So if you think, well, I've had a protein shake and it was 200 calories, then I had this, like calorically I should be okay, even though I'm dieting, you got to look at what's in that food. Just because you're meeting what you believe is calorie requirements does not mean that your body's going to be able to process and eliminate it correctly. So just stay moderate on that. Number 4, consume only warm foods and drinks. So that ice maker that you have in your freezer is going to get very lonely when you start living Ayurveda, because we don't eat ice. We don't drink cold ice water. We don't drink cold ice sodas. We keep everything, we don't drink soda at all actually, but we keep everything at room temperature or warm. Warm or even hot foods and drinks are the very best, especially if you are constipated. It's going to help to decrease vata dosha. It's going to increase your agni and your digestive fire. So remember, like increases like. So if you're going to eat cold temperature foods, it's going to increase your vata, which is going to increase constipation. Okay, we're seeing how this is all fitting together. If you've had food in the refrigerator, let it sit out a little bit and get it warm before you eat it, or warm it on the stove. We want to avoid the microwave. That takes away a lot of the prana or the life energy in the food, but you don't want to eat things ice cold coming out of the refrigerator, which I know is so hard, right? It's a hot day. You think, oh, I just need some cold water. Do room temperature water, put a drop of peppermint essential oil in it, and there you've got your cooling without having the cold ice water. So people who need to lose weight or have a lot of toxicity or challenges with elimination, if they will remove cold beverages and foods from their diet, they will start to see a change. They will start to see weight being dropped much easier just because of that one tiny little change. Okay, number 5, incorporate the right kind and the right quantity of fiber into your diet. In the Western world, the doctors often prescribe water and fiber when someone is constipated. But fiber is not actually a solution for constipation. It is a cause. What? I know, I'm making you think outside the box here. Let's just talk through this. The properties of fiber lead to bloating. Okay, inside the colon, you have native bacteria that act on the fiber's indigestible carbohydrates. That causes further bloating and produces gases like methane, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide, leading to gas. So if your digestive fire is already compromised, you're already constipated, every ounce of additional fiber that you take in becomes dead weight in the body. So if someone who's only occasionally suffering from constipation decides they need to have a ton more fiber, they're actually going to increase their constipation. I know, it's so sad, right? We think we're doing a good job and then we're actually making things much, much worse. So you want to have fiber naturally in your foods. Some foods that do have good fiber in them that you're not going to get excessive amounts are fruits, vegetables, cereals, just like the grains, the wheat, that kind of thing. But there's not a one size fits all recommendation in Ayurveda. So when doctors just keep saying more fiber, more fiber, more fiber, that's not necessarily going to fix your problem. And when you eat fiber rich foods, it's best if you cook them in a light oil or with ghee and add some digestive spices like cumin or mustard seed that makes them easier for your body to break down and use. But just throwing a whole bunch more fiber on top of the problem is creating a big, huge dam inside your digestive tract. It's not helping you to eliminate it. One little tip that I've learned that you can do if you're having constipation, if you have access to guava fruit, love guava, you can have a guava fruit in the morning, put a little fresh ground pepper, black pepper, rock salt, it's also called Himalayan pink salt, and grated ginger on top of the slices of guava, and eat that just by itself. So you don't add any other dairy or other food items to it, just the fruit. And it can really help to start that elimination moving more regularly. And number 6, drink only when you're actually thirsty. There's a huge trend right now that you need to have a gallon of water every day, no matter what. That is excessive. When you drink all that water, you're diluting your digestive enzymes, you're blocking the biochannels of circulation in your body, and you're taxing the entire digestive system. You're basically creating this perfect storm for the food not to be able to digest that's already in there. So you want to just know that in Ayurveda, we don't believe that you dictate how much someone eats. We don't dictate how often you eat or when you eat. It's all based on your individual rhythms and how your body is feeling. So with water, it's the same thing. It just doesn't work to tell people you have to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Drink when you're thirsty. Don't drink cold water, and drink when you're thirsty. So those are my recommendations for you to help with constipation. If you're suffering from constipation right now, it's miserable. It is not a fun way to be. You just don't feel right ever. But try incorporating some of these things, even if you're doing 5 of them, but there's one thing you can tweak it and see if it helps. And just remember that your body and mind are connected. So if you're having a lot of mental constipation, mental suffering, it's going to impact what's happening in your bowels. And as we say in Ayurveda, you are what you can digest. So let's work towards better elimination. I am happy to get to visit with you, and we'll see you next time. Namaste. Before you go, was this episode helpful for you? Well, the most helpful thing you can do in return is to leave a review in iTunes. The reviews are what keep the podcast going. And be sure to subscribe and share this episode if you loved it. If you want to connect on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Heather Johnson Maya Life, or Facebook at Heather White Johnson, or online at maya-life.com. Namaste.